Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to be taking a deep dive into a case that really, I think, proves that anyone can become a victim.
Yeah.
It's the murder of Jim Short,
Mm.
a 74-year-old retired defense attorney
Right.
from Austin, Texas. You would think with a background like that, he'd be able to spot trouble, right?
Right.
But this case is just, it's a chilling reminder that, things happen.
Absolutely. And what's so fascinating about this case is how it unfolds. It's like a real life thriller, and it's all set against this backdrop of the digital age. How these simple online interactions can lead to such tragic offline consequences. It's a story that I think will really resonate with a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure. So back in April 2017, Jim's family hadn't heard from him for a little while, which was unusual. They were pretty close.
Okay.
And so his niece, Linda, she went to his house to check on him. And, I mean, it was the stuff of nightmares, really.
Right.
The police, of course, arrived, and the investigation began in Jim's bathroom. That's where they found, a pretty brutal scene.
I can imagine. So, like, from a forensic standpoint,
Yeah.
what kind of things would investigators be looking for in a scene like that? I mean, you walk into a bathroom, you're met with nearly 28 stab wounds, burns on the body, a plastic bag over the victim's head.
It's intense.
It's intense. It's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
And it immediately tells you this isn't just some random act of violence. There's something much deeper, much more personal going on here. It feels very targeted, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, yeah. And adding to the whole situation, the killer also tried to set the house on fire.
Oh, wow.
Using gasoline, no less.
So using an accelerant like that, I mean, that's definitely a sign that they were trying to cover their tracks, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely.
It speaks to a certain level of planning, a desire to really get rid of any evidence.
Luckily, the fire didn't fully ignite. But yeah, I mean, like you said, it's just another layer to this already pretty horrific story. And amidst this whole chaotic scene, investigators did find some interesting clues.
Okay, like what?
So there was a backpack that didn't belong to Jim, a crumpled up Walmart receipt.
Interesting.
And maybe most unsettling of all was that his SUV and his credit cards were missing.
So they're gone.
Gone.
So right away, it seems like we're not just dealing with a murder, but potentially a robbery as well.
Yeah, it definitely became clear pretty quickly that that this wasn't just a random act of violence. This was orchestrated, it was planned. But going back to the scene for a minute,
Yeah.
there was one piece of evidence that really stood out, and that was the thumbprint.
Oh, the thumbprint on the knife you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, it was pristine condition. It's almost as if the killer wanted it to be found.
That's a bold move, isn't it? Leaving such a clear piece of evidence behind.
Yeah, very bold.
It makes you wonder, was it a mistake? Or was there something else going on?
Yeah, I mean, it's strange, right?
Yeah.
But either way, that thumbprint was like the golden ticket for investigators. It led them straight to Justin Twine, a 26-year-old guy from Louisiana,
Okay.
had a minor criminal history, and get this, they tracked him down
Yeah.
to a luxury hotel in New Orleans.
Wow, a luxury hotel. Okay.
Living the high life, charging room service to Jim's stolen credit card. It's like he didn't have a care in the world.
It's almost like he was taunting them, isn't it? Like, catch me if you can.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Yeah.
what it seems like. I mean, how could you be so brazen, right? But the real question is, how did these two men even cross paths?
Right, yeah. You've got a 74-year-old retired defense attorney and a 26-year-old with a bit of a shady past. What brings them together?
Well, the answer, and this might surprise you, is a Craigslist ad.
Craigslist. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, what kind of ad are we talking about here?
Jim, maybe he was feeling a little isolated in retirement, who knows? But he responded to an ad posted by Twine, who claimed to be homeless and in need of help.
Okay, so this is where things start to get really interesting. We're talking about the digital world colliding with real-life danger.
Yeah.
This ad, it sounds like a classic phishing scam,
Yeah.
a way to lure in vulnerable individuals with promises of companionship or assistance.
Yeah.
But we know Twine's motives were far from charitable.
Right. And if you look at the ad itself, I mean, there are some pretty revealing details.
Like what?
He mentions being a gay male, even offered to send pictures. It's pretty clear he was targeting a specific demographic, someone who might be more likely to empathize with his situation and offer help.
It's really insidious when you think about it. These phishing scams, they prey on people's good intentions, that desire to help those in need.
Right.
It's a stark reminder that even in the anonymity of the online world, we need to be aware of the potential for manipulation,
Mm.
for deceit.
It's a chilling thought, but you're absolutely right. And unfortunately for Jim, that ad was just the beginning of a nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, we've got the crime scene, the attempted arson, the stolen credit cards, and now this Craigslist ad. Where do we go from here?
Well, as the investigation unfolded, Twine's phone became a goldmine of evidence.
Ah, the digital trail.
Exactly.
So it wasn't just about tracking his movements with location data. There was more to it than that.
Oh, yeah, way more. I mean, investigators found incriminating text messages, emails, all corroborating the timeline of events.
Wow, so they're building a really strong case against him.
Yeah, but then there were the Snapchat videos.
Snapchat videos. Okay, now I'm really intrigued.
Yeah, I mean, they were recorded in the hours and days after the murder. It's chilling. Twine's he seems carefree, like nothing happened. He's even bragging about his spending sprees with Jim's stolen credit cards.
No remorse whatsoever. It's like he's completely detached from the reality of what he's done.
Yeah, absolutely. The contrast between, the brutality of the crime and his just, I don't know, carefree attitude afterwards, it's mind-boggling.
You have to wonder what was going through his mind. Did he really think he could just get away with it?
Yeah.
It speaks volumes about his state of mind, doesn't it? Either a complete lack of empathy or a dangerous level of delusion, or
Yeah.
maybe even both.
Maybe both. But those Snapchat videos, well, they became a key piece of evidence in a trial that would reveal some pretty unsettling truths about this whole case. I mean, it's almost like these videos were like a window,
Mm.
in Twine's mind,
Yeah,
revealing just this chilling detachment from the reality of what he'd done.
absolutely.
But while investigators were putting together the digital trail, they also had all that physical evidence from the crime scene.
Right.
And that told a pretty clear story, too.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one of the things that really stands out to me is that attempted arson. I mean, it ultimately failed, but it still says a lot about his mindset, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
For sure. It wasn't just about getting rid of the body, right? He was trying to erase himself
Mm.
from that house,
Yeah.
from Jim's life.
Yeah.
Like he was never even there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like he wanted to just wipe the slate clean. But the fact that he used gasoline, though,
Right.
it's so volatile, so difficult to control.
It is,
Yeah.
and that suggests a certain level of impulsiveness to me,
Yeah.
a lack of forethought. And in this case, that impulsiveness may have actually worked against him because he left behind so much evidence.
Right, right. I mean, it seems like a contradiction, doesn't it? Like, on the one hand, he's meticulous enough to create this whole fake persona online to lure Jim into this trap.
Hmm.
But then he almost botches the whole thing with this, like, haphazard attempt to burn the house down.
Yeah, and that's something we see sometimes in criminal cases. Criminals aren't always masterminds.
Right.
They make mistakes, they panic, they
Mhm.
act irrationally. And in this case, Twine's impulsiveness, well, it left behind a trail of evidence that ultimately sealed his fate, both physical and digital.
Exactly. And speaking of the digital trail, I mean, Twine's phone, his online activities, it's like a digital fingerprint, right?
It is.
Revealing this whole pattern of behavior that's pretty much impossible to deny.
Yeah, and that's a thing about the digital age. We leave these digital footprints everywhere we go. Every website we visit, every post we like, every message we send.
It's all being tracked.
It is. It all contributes to this unique profile that can be used to track our movements, our interests, our connections. And in this case, that digital fingerprint, well, it became the smoking gun, connecting Twine to Jim, placing him at the scene of the crime, and ultimately revealing his callous indifference in the aftermath.
It really makes you think twice about our own online activities, doesn't it?
It does.
But I want to shift gears for a second and talk about the victim in this case. Jim Short, he wasn't just some rando target. He was a successful defense attorney, a former military man. I mean, you would think he'd be able to spot a scam from a mile away.
You're right. And I think it's important to remember that, victims of these types of crimes aren't necessarily naive or gullible.
Yeah.
Jim was intelligent, experienced. He was used to dealing with people from all walks of life. But we also have to consider the human element here. Maybe there was a sense of loneliness in his retirement, a desire for companionship that maybe clouded his judgment a little bit. We all have vulnerabilities.
Right. Right. And it's so easy to judge from the outside looking in, but we can't really know what was going through his mind, what vulnerabilities Twine might have exploited.
Exactly. And that's what makes these predators so dangerous. They often target individuals who are experiencing some kind of emotional vulnerability, whether it's loneliness, grief, financial hardship, or even just a simple desire for connection.
Yeah.
They're masters of manipulation. They know how to gain trust, and they know how to exploit it for their own gain.
So how do we protect ourselves without becoming completely isolated? It's like, you want to be open to new connections, but you also have to be wary of the dangers.
It's a tough balance, for sure.
Hmm.
But I think awareness is key, We need
Yeah.
to educate ourselves about the tactics that these predators use, the
Yeah.
red flags to watch out for. Trust your instincts. If something feels off in an online interaction, it probably is.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to ask questions, to verify information, and if necessary, to just walk away from a situation that feels uncomfortable or unsafe.
Yeah, it's a sad reality that we have to be so cautious, but as
Yeah,
this case tragically demonstrates, the consequences of ignoring those red flags can be absolutely devastating.
absolutely.
Now let's talk about the trial itself. It must have been a really challenging case for the prosecution,
I'm sorry.
having to present this horrific crime, but also, being sensitive to the victim's personal life. It's a delicate balance, isn't it? They had to present the gruesome details of the murder to prove the brutality of the crime, but they also had to portray Jim Short as a real person, someone who was loved, respected, whose life was tragically cut short.
Right, right. And they also had to counter the defense's attempt to portray Twine as the victim, which, come on.
Yeah.
It seems pretty far-fetched considering all the evidence.
The power dynamic between these two men was undeniable.
Yeah.
Twine was young, physically fit, clearly capable of violence. Jim, on the other hand, was a 74-year-old retiree. The brutality of the crime scene, it spoke for itself. It refuted any claims of self-defense.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the end, the jury saw through the defense's attempts to shift blame. They found Twine guilty of murder, and he was sentenced to 40 years in prison.
Wow.
It's a sense of justice, I guess you could say, but it can never truly make up for the loss of Jim Short.
Yeah.
His family and friends are left to grapple with the pain and try to find meaning in this senseless act of violence. It's a tragic reminder that even in the digital age, these crimes of passion, of exploitation, they can still occur. But it also highlights how important forensic evidence and digital investigation are in bringing these perpetrators to justice.
Yeah, that's a really good point. This case really underscores how technology can be, both a tool for crime, but also a means to solve it. But beyond just the legal aspects, I think there's a deeper question here about how we as individuals, how we can navigate the complexities of the online world,
Safely.
responsibly.
Absolutely. We can't let fear control our lives, but we also can't ignore the very real dangers that exist online. It's about finding that balance between caution and connection, being aware of the risks,
Yeah.
but not letting them prevent us from experiencing the positive aspects of the digital world.
Right, right. And maybe, just maybe, by talking about cases like this, by shining a light on, some of the dark corners of the internet, maybe we can raise awareness and help prevent similar tragedies from happening in the future.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Every story like this is an opportunity to learn, to protect ourselves and others from harm. And it's a reminder that behind every screen name, every profile picture, there's a real person with their own story, their own vulnerabilities. And it's up to each of us to treat those interactions with respect and caution.
Well said. This deep dive it's been a real eye-opener. It really underscores how the internet can be, both this powerful tool for good, but also this breeding ground for danger. It's a constant balancing act,
It is.
learning to harness its potential, but also staying vigilant against the risks.
Well said. It's about finding that sweet spot between caution and connection,
Yeah.
awareness and engagement. We can enjoy the benefits of the digital world without becoming paralyzed by paranoia.
Exactly. And, perhaps by shedding light on cases like Jim Short's, by understanding the tactics that these predators employ, maybe we can equip ourselves and others to navigate this digital landscape safely and responsibly.
I agree. Every story like this, as tragic as it is, offers a valuable lesson, a chance to learn, to grow, and hopefully prevent future tragedies.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it's given you some food for thought, some valuable insights into, the complexities of the digital age and the importance of staying vigilant in our online interactions.
Absolutely. Remember, behind every screen name, every profile, there's a real person with their own hopes, their own dreams, their own vulnerabilities. Let's treat each other with respect and caution as we explore this ever-evolving digital frontier.
This has been a sobering reminder of just how important that is. But before we wrap things up, I want to leave you with one final thought. Think about it. Without that digital trail, without those credit card charges, the phone records, those Snapchat videos, would justice have been served?
It's a scary thought, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really underscores how important it is for law enforcement to be, equipped for these kinds of investigations. I mean, we live in a digital age, right?
Yeah.
And the tools that criminals are using, they're evolving so quickly.
Yeah, and it's not just about catching them after the fact, right? I mean,
Mhm.
it's about being proactive, recognizing the signs, and preventing these tragedies before they even happen. I mean, what can we learn from Jim Short's story to protect others from falling victim to these kinds of schemes?
Well, I think education is key.
Hmm.
We need to have like these open, honest conversations about online safety,
Yeah.
especially with people who might be more vulnerable, you know,
Yeah.
like the elderly, people experiencing loneliness or isolation, anyone seeking connection online, really.
Yeah, for sure. It's more than just, teaching people to avoid scams. It's about recognizing those subtle signs of manipulation,
Right.
understanding like the psychology behind these predators and empowering people to walk away from any interaction that feels wrong.
Exactly. And remember, these predators, they can be very, very sophisticated. I mean, they create these elaborate online personas. They weave these intricate webs of deceit to gain trust and exploit those vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that we can't always judge a book by its cover,
Hmm.
especially online where appearances can be so deceiving.
Yeah, it's true. This whole deep dive has been a real eye opener. It really underscores how the internet can be both, this powerful tool for good, but also like this breeding ground for danger. It's
Well,
it's a constant balancing act, isn't it?
it is.
Learning to harness its potential, but also, staying vigilant against the risks.
Well said. We can't let fear and suspicion dictate every online interaction. It's about finding that sweet spot between caution and connection, awareness and engagement. We can enjoy the benefits of the digital world without becoming completely paralyzed by paranoia.
Right, right, exactly. And perhaps, by shedding light on cases like Jim Short's, by understanding the tactics these predators use, maybe we can equip ourselves and others to navigate this digital landscape,
Yep.
safely, responsibly.
I wholeheartedly agree. Every story like this, as tragic as it is, offers a valuable lesson, a chance to learn and grow,
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully to prevent future tragedies.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it's given you some food for thought, some valuable insights into, the complexities of the digital age and the importance of staying vigilant,
Yeah.
in our online interactions.
Absolutely. And remember, behind every screen name, every profile, there's a real person
Mm.
with their own hopes, their own dreams, their own vulnerabilities. Let's treat each other with respect and caution as we explore this ever-evolving digital frontier.
I couldn't have said it better myself. It's been a sobering reminder of just how important that is. But that's going to do it for this deep dive. Until next time, stay safe, stay informed, and stay curious.